This is Bobby C. out at the Barclays Center. Despite a big night by Brook Lopez and the Brooklyn Nets, what a week it was for Dion Waiters and the Miami Heat. Story of the week, Dion Waiters. First, he sinks the Golden State Warriors, and then again, a big shot tonight against the Nets. He has 14 points of his 24 in the fourth quarter.
You just can't be afraid to take them shots, And fortunately, I made the shot, man. I told them guys, though, even when I was on the bench, I said, we're going to win this game. I kept telling them that we're going to win this game. When we're down 14, we're going to win this game. And slowly we started getting stops when we needed them. And, tables turned. We started playing Miami Heat defense.
This was an important challenge for us. Coming off of 4 home wins, to be able to handle success. We haven't had this opportunity to deal with something like this yet this season. We got down, but we had to scrap and show some grit and toughness to be able to get back into it. And then obviously Dion was able to seal the deal again down the stretch, but it took a lot of defensive efforts in that fourth quarter.
A hot start for Lopez, who scored the game's first 13 points for Brooklyn and round to 33 on the night, but it was a frustrating fourth quarter for the Nets.
I think they were definitely the aggressor down the stretch. They rode the momentum they had. Obviously they definitely had confidence. They get themselves back in the game and win the game. Yeah, we really gave ourselves a chance for 40 minutes tonight, but obviously it's a full 48-minute game.
Waiters and his clutch shooting, highlighted by that dagger three-pointer down the stretch, helped the Heat erase an 18-point deficit in upending Brooklyn. The Nets will be in Cleveland tonight and Minnesota on Saturday. Speaking of the reigning champion Cavs, they have more team wins than the Knicks and the Nets combined. The Nets have 9 on the season, while the recently struggling Knicks have 20. The Cavs are 30-14. That also means that Cleveland does not want Carmelo Anthony. Reports this week that the Cavs have nixed an Anthony for Kevin Love swap. Anthony, despite averaging 22.7 points and 6.1 rebounds this season, is of no interest to the Cavs and other teams. The Knicks have reportedly floated Melo to Boston, Cleveland, and the LA Clippers. Anthony has been on a tear of late, averaging 30.2 points over the team's last 4 games, but unfortunately, the Knicks have lost 3 of those 4 and have dropped 14 of their last 18. That included Wednesday's 103-95 loss to Dallas. In addition, Anthony is not heading to New Orleans for this year's All-Star game. He was not named to the All-Star reserves by the coaches, snapping his streak of 7 straight appearances. Ouch. The coaches instead went with Kevin Love, Paul George, and Paul Millsap in the front court, and guards Isaiah Thomas, John Wall, Kyle Lowry, and Bronx boy Kemba Walker to fill out the reserves. Congrats to our longtime friend Kemba. Walker is having his best of his 5 NBA seasons, averaging 23 points and shooting 45.9% from the field and 41.4% from three-point range. He is second in the Eastern Conference in threes made. The Knicks will face Walker and the Charlotte Hornets tonight at Madison Square Garden before heading to Atlanta on Sunday. More on Carmelo Anthony and the Knicks drama in the C-list. Time for some quick hitters from around the world of sports. We have our 2 reps for the Super Bowl. Atlanta followed through on my prediction and upended Green Bay last weekend to represent the NFC in Houston. The Falcons are heading to the Super Bowl to square off against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots on February 5th. In the meantime, this Sunday, the NFL will host its annual Pro Bowl game. This game is taking place this year in Orlando. That game gets rolling at 8 p.m. on Sunday night. Brady and the Pats followed through on my preseason pick for the Super Bowl. Now they'll just have to do what I expected them to do all along, and that's win their 5th time with Brady under center. Tom is 4-2 in the big game and can really cement himself as the greatest of all time with another victory in the Super Bowl. He and head coach Bill Belichick are arguably the greatest QB head coach tandem in NFL history. Tune in next Friday for my Super Bowl prediction. I said last week on the program not to sleep on the Atlanta Falcons. It's taken me all season to come to this conclusion, but that multifaceted offense is something special to watch. And despite the fact that he's a defensive-minded coach, I'm sure Jets fans were sitting there on Sunday wondering if they should have just chose to wait for Falcons head coach Dan Quinn 2 years ago when he was available. The NHL's All-Star Weekend is upon us. The festivities kick off tonight and carry through this Sunday in Los Angeles at the Staples Center. Just of note, the NBA All-Star Weekend is February 17th through the 19th in New Orleans. As for the locals on the ice, the Rangers return Tuesday to face Columbus, while the New Jersey Devils will return against Detroit, and the Islanders will have Washington on Tuesday right after the All-Star break. With the calendar rolling into February, pitchers and catchers are only days away from reporting to spring training. Baseball is on its way back, folks. The World Baseball Classic will kick off the spring slate this year. However, Yankees ace Masahiro Tanaka will not take part this time around, which is good for the Bronx Bombers, who want to protect that great right arm of his. This was a week of upsets around the NBA and college basketball. Earlier we mentioned Dion Waiters, who not only topped the Nets with some heroics, but also beat the nearly unbeaten Golden State Warriors. For the 16-win Heat, that was something else. By the way, Golden State is 39-7 as we approach the All-Star break. The Cavs also lost on the weekend, have actually looked pretty poor of late. But even with the two best teams in basketball taking some L's, it was the college hardwood that had the biggest upsets. It couldn't get any rockier for the nation's top teams. West Virginia dominated Kansas, Marquette upset Villanova, and then Tennessee stunned Kentucky. Tuesday night was the first time since 2012 that 3 of the top 4 teams in the nation have lost on the same day, and just the second time it's happened in 20 years. It's also the first time since 1979 that number 1, number 2, and number 4 all lost on the same date. Gotta love hoops. Gotta love college basketball. The calendar turning over to February just means we are 1 month closer to March Madness. Iconic college football announcer Brent Musburger's final game was the Sugar Bowl. He announced Wednesday that he will be retiring from broadcasting at the end of the month after calling an SEC basketball game on January the 31st. Musburger has served as the lead college football announcer for the SEC network since the channel's inception in 2014, after being ESPN's top college football voice since 2006. He's one of the best to ever get behind the mic. Carl Edwards was one of the best drivers in NASCAR. He came 10 laps away from winning his first Cup title in November, then announced his retirement 2 weeks ago with a year remaining on his contract. His announcement at 37 years old set NASCAR into a spin. He may pursue a career in politics, according to reports, although he didn't confirm that to USA Today. He did, however, quote General Douglas MacArthur, saying, "No man is entitled to the blessings of freedom unless he be vigilant in its preservation." Is it too late to make this guy president? Those are the headlines. We hit the C-list for some commentary on Melo and the Knicks. Well, Knicks fans, we've reached that point where it looks like the marriage is at rock bottom. Carmelo Anthony is still a viable NBA player, all-star snub or not. He's 32 years old and has 2 years left on his contract. And to be honest, although I have been critical of Melo in the past, as they say in most relationships, it takes 2 to make it and 2 to break it. The Knicks are as much to blame for this mess as Melo is. Anthony has a full no-trade clause and doesn't have to go anywhere, but I get the sense that he's fed up himself. In the beginning of this marriage, things were amazing. We were in the building that first game for Melo, and it's one of the most electric nights at MSG in recent memory. I was totally on board for the Knicks getting Carmelo, but clearly since he joined the team in 2011, he's shown that as great a scorer as he is, he's just not as good a leader. He's proven that he can win when surrounded by other stars. That's what he's done in the Olympics. He's the most decorated USA men's basketball player in history. Melo is a future Hall of Famer and, again, one of the best scorers I have ever seen. But in recent years, we've learned what the Denver Nuggets knew when they traded him to New York. You can't win with Carmelo as the centerpiece. It doesn't mean the Knicks can't win with Melo on the roster. It just means that he should not be the central figure in your quest for the championship. Problem with that is the Knicks don't have a good roster, good enough to get the most out of Melo, and Melo doesn't want to be second fiddle to anyone. Add in the fact that it's been tough to lure free agents to New York due to the drama, a longing to clear cap space, and not many pieces that could be here when the Knicks are ready to seriously contend, and you realize that Melo and Phil Jackson probably both need to go. Nevertheless, if I were the Knicks, I wouldn't make the same mistake. I would keep Carmelo for the rest of the season and still make a concentrated effort to deal him this summer for the best package available. Breakups are never easy. That's your sports. I'm Bobby C.